Alrighty, everybody, welcome into This Time Domain. This is Time. And today I'm gonna do another 3 chapters. This is working out a lot better than it was because when I was doing just 2 chapters, I was stopping, and then I have like this whole bunch of time at the end to talk. So, which I will do if you guys do communicate with me in the chat. But I don't do too much talking. I just, I kind of want to read and get through these books. But let's just get started. So, and this one is about, I think more or less like unlawful sexual relations. So, like if you back in the day when this was going on, if you had sex with like people outside of your marriage or you weren't married to them, stuff like that, and it still goes on to this day. So these are rules and regulations that the Lord made when it comes down to that. So, unlawful sexual relations, chapter 18. The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, I am your Lord, I am the Lord your God. You must not do as they do in Egypt, where you used to live, and you must not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. Do not follow their practices. You must obey my law and be careful to follow my decrees. I am the Lord your God. Keep my decrees and the law, for the person who obeys them will live by them. I am the Lord. So basically, the Lord's saying, don't do what they did in Egypt and make sure you're following the rules here. So, if you are following the rules, make sure you keep following them. So no one is to approach any close relative to have sexual relations. I am the Lord. Do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have sexual relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your father's wife. That would dishonor your father. Do not have sexual relations with your sister either, your father's daughter or mother's daughter, whether she was born in the same home or elsewhere. Do not have sexual relations with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter. That would dishonor you. Do not have sexual relations with your daughter of your father's wife born to your father. She is your sister. Let me pull this up in case you guys can't hear me. Alright, so do not have sexual relations with your father's sister. She is your father's close relative. Do not have sexual relations with your sister, your mother's sister, because she is your mother's close relative. Do not dishonor your father's brother by approaching his wife to have sexual relations with him. She is your aunt. Hang on a second. Okay. Do not dishonor your father's brother. Alright. Alright. Do not have sexual relations with your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your brother's wife. That would dishonor your brother. Do not have sexual relations with both a woman and a daughter. Do not have sexual relations with either her son or her daughter or her daughter's daughter. They are close relatives. That is wickedness. Alright. Do not take your wife's sister as a rival wife and have sexual relations with her while your wife is living. Do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleanness of her monthly period. Do not have sexual relations with your neighbor's wife and defile yourself with her. Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman. That is detestable. So right there, God states he doesn't like homosexuality right there in that statement. All right? Just throwing that out there. It's not a lot of the stuff everything he's saying here he doesn't like. And that falls in the category too. So, do not have sexual relations with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relations with it. That is perversion. So, again, that right there, I don't know why I don't know why anybody would want to do that, first of all. These last two were like by far like the lowest of low things you could do sexually to anybody. But, there's a lot in there that makes sense and is very low, but like these are the lowest of low. These are like if these are like mental problem low is what this is, because that last one talks about having sexual relations with an animal, which is you have to have some sort of mental problem if you're doing that. So do not defile yourself in any of these ways, because this is how the nation that I am going to drive out before you became defiled. Even the land was defiled, so I punished it for its sin. And the land vomited out its inhabitants, but you must keep my decrees and my law. The native born and the foreigners, residing among you, must not do any of these detestable things, for all these were done by people who lived in the land before you, and the land became defiled. And if you defile the land, it will vomit out as it vomited out the nations that were before you. Anyone who does any of these detestable things, such persons must be cut off from their people. Keep my requirements. Do not follow any of these detestable customs that were practiced before you came, and do not defile yourselves with them. I am the Lord your God. So, that right there, there's a lot in there that people should already know, but because we live in this really weird time where things just don't make sense and all that, there's some things that people do that, so a lot of us must have really been upsetting the Lord when we did what we did back before Clown World became a thing. We must have really upset him, and now he's just like, we're in some form of like lower level, like the lowest, like we're not exact. I feel like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say, and this is just me saying this, but you know, I think we're actually and this is kind of scary to say, but I think we're actually in the lowest part of hell. Like I feel like we've been stuck there, and I feel like the only way to get us back to normal and to get us out of like this lowest level of hell we're in is to read through this Bible and try to save yourself. Because the rest of the world surrounding me, it just seems like it's really, really off. And it's like, this is only stuff that you would probably more than likely see in the underground, in the underworld, which is not where I want to go. Not where anybody wants to go, but that's where I feel like we've ended up. You know, I don't know if that's true, but that's just what it seems like to me sometimes. It just seems like it's too wild to even think that, it's too wild to even think that the world around us is acting as such, and then there's me just like acting almost like pretty much normal to a point where like I don't know. It just seems a bit odd to me that like things around us are so like weird. Like, we're at a time frame where people are actually trying to change their genders up and stuff like that, which is like unreal to me still to this day. It's like it makes me like wanna like I feel like sometimes it makes me wanna be like just I don't know. It just makes me want to stop and stare. Like, you know how you're like, you see something, you're shocked at it, and so you like blink a bunch of times to make sure like it's real. That's what I do sometimes. That's how I feel sometimes because why is everybody like why are there so many people trying to change their gender? I've never experienced a time in my life where I have seen that before. But now I see that more often than ever. And it's like, why am I seeing this so much now? I don't know. It just feels like we're in some really, really low form of hell. And we haven't even, and if we don't save ourselves from getting out or we don't like read the Bible, we're not going to change anything. That's what it feels like. It feels like one big giant like challenge. So, various laws. Chapter 19. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the entire assembly of Israel and say to them, be holy, because I, the Lord, your God, am holy. Each of you must respect your mother and your father, and you must observe the Sabbath. I am the Lord your God. Do not turn to idols to make metal gods for yourself. I am the Lord your God. When you sacrifice a fellowship offering to the Lord, sacrifice it in such a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. It shall be eaten on the day you sacrifice it, or on the next day. Anything until left over until the third day must be burned up. If any of it is eaten on the third day, it is impure and will not be acceptable. Whoever eats it will be held responsible because they have they have desecrated what is holy to the Lord. They must cut off from their people. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edge of your field, or gather the gather in the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time, or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do not deceive one another. And this is a lot of stuff that we're doing today. Where don't lie. Don't deceive one another. That's something that's extreme in today's world. Deceiving one another, deceiving one another is like, okay, trolling somebody into a point where they believe everything you say, so they go and they do something. That's a sin you're doing right there. Do not swear falsely by my name, and so profane the God, the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not defraud or rob your neighbor. Do not hold back the wages of a hired worker overnight. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind, but fear your God. I am the Lord. Do not pervert justice. Well, there goes the cat out. There goes the cat in the water out the window. Do not pervert justice. Okay. We're in clown world. What do they do a lot? People pervert everything almost. It's kind of weird. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great but judge your neighbor fairly. Do not go about spreading slander among your people. Do not do anything that endangers your neighbor's life. What? There's a guy I know right now that did that to me. Do not. I am the Lord. Do not hate a fellow Israelite in your heart. Rebuke your neighbors frankly, so you will not share in their guilt. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Okay, so let me pause there. When there's something going on, I really, really am mad at the person. Okay, I don't seek revenge, and I don't normally bear grudges. I normally just leave people alone, and it helps me get rid of the everything I feel towards them. But there's some people that just don't don't get out of that state of mind, so they continue to like come back into your life, and then they end up stirring up like emotions you don't need. And that's where, like, when people don't understand it. If I walk away from you, hey, leave me alone, don't seek me out, don't even bother me. You see me anywhere, don't bother me. That's pretty plain and simple to understand. But then again, I've grown on YouTube so much. There's people probably out there seeing me and probably just like disliking where I'm at right now on YouTube, which is completely fine, and not completely understandable. But we all have to understand that right here it says, "Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself." So you can be to the point with your neighbor where you're not necessarily holding a grudge against them, or you're not seeking revenge against them, but you can literally stay quiet, and you'll forget the whole thing, and eventually you'll come back again, and you can say, just at least say hi to them. And that's something that, like, everybody out there should understand. If you're holding a grudge or seeking revenge, the best thing you can do to somebody in that terms, if they've really upset you, is to walk away, leave them alone for a little while, and then later on go and seek them out. And if they still feel the same way about you, leave them alone, because they don't want to deal with you, because it's something that the Lord put on their heart. Told them not to deal with you. The Lord puts stuff in people's heart because there's certain things the Lord wants you to understand. And if you're going to a person time and time again, and they're like literally cutting you off, and their heart is getting hardened around you, that's a sure sign that maybe the Lord don't want you to be in their life. Maybe the Lord don't want you to be a part of their world. And as for me, I've ended up in situations where I'm like, well, let me just backtrack and see if this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing, and stuff like that. So it just absolutely confuses me at times, because there's times I have it too, where like people come off with this like hardened heart. But you know, I'm learning that I learned that in the long run, ladies are a lot different to deal with than guys when it comes down to it. So that's why, like, if a lady's like if a lady's getting like irritable with me, there's sometimes she's arguing with her feelings about how she should feel about me, or like how if a woman's genuinely nice, she likes me, but she doesn't like me more than a friend. But if a woman likes me, with their emotions, but there's still some anger there. There's a little bit of the fact that she's arguing with herself about how she feels about me, and she probably really really adores me, and she just is too afraid to admit it. So she argues with her feelings and starts drama. That's just how it normally goes. Something I picked up along the way. I'm not really like a guy that knows everything, but there's a few things that you can pick up on if you really really pay attention. But this right here is, if I'm leaving you alone completely and I'm mad at you, don't even bother trying to come back, you know, because I don't want to bring up old revenges and old grudges with you, because that's the point of me leaving everybody alone. When I have a problem with somebody, it's best to leave me alone, because I don't want to stir up old drama with you. I don't want to keep making you feel like you're in the wrong. You know, Move on with your life. That includes, like, I tried to do that. I tried to get my mother to understand that, and people keep trying to repress me to talk to her again, and it's like, I know you exist, yes, but you got to understand it's time to let things go. Time to move on. Even if you are my mother or you're a really close relative, I don't want to sit there and make you feel hate the entire time. So if I'm mad at you and I'm saying, please go find God or seek Jesus Christ, it's because I don't want to sit there and be mad at you. I want you to understand that I'm trying to lead you in a direction where I do care, but it's at the same time you're having trouble understanding by always leaning back towards me to seek happiness, and I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want anybody. I can make people happy, yes, but I am not God. God will truly make you happy. God will put a smile on your face, man. Like, you'll feel the Holy Spirit if you sit down and pray and you read a book. You read the Bible. So keep my decrees. Do not mate. Do not mate different kinds of animals. Do not plant your field with 2 kinds of seeds. Do not wear clothing more than of 2 kinds of material. If a man sleeps with a female slave who is promised to have to another man, but who has not been ransomed or given her freedom, there must be due punishment. Yet they are not to be put to death because she had not been freed. The man, however, must bring a ram to the entrance to the tent of meeting for a guilt offering to the Lord. With the ram of the guilt offering, the priest is to make atonement for him before the Lord for the sin he has committed, and his sin will be forgiven when you enter. Okay, so there's some stuff in this that, like, God didn't want people to die, so that's why he made that rule. God didn't want people to die because he, for all we know, what's being said here is like, he didn't want women slaves to die, so he felt like it was unfair probably. So he basically said sacrifice a ram instead. So when you enter the land and plant any kind of fruit tree, regard its fruit as forbidden. For 3 years you are to consider it forbidden. It must be eaten in the 4th year. All its fruit will be holy, an offering of praise to the Lord. But the 5th year you must eat its fruit. In this way your harvest will be increased. I am the Lord your God. Do not eat any meat with blood still in it. Do not practice divination or seek omens. Do not cut the hair at the side of your head or clip off the edge of your beard. Do not cut your bodies or for the dead put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord. So actually, looking at that, reading that right there, that really, like, that's something that throws everybody off. Okay, we're not, all right. He said it here. Do not put tattoos on yourself. So, I've heard of ceremonial tattoos. When does that come into play, and when does that, like? Because I want to look that one up. Because that to me doesn't that to me it sounds kind of off. And I'm not against getting tattoos. Obviously, I have a couple on my skin too. So, all right. Do not degrade your daughter by making her a prostitute, or the land will turn to prostitute and be filled with wickedness. Observe my Sabbaths and have reverence for my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Do not seek to turn do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will defile them. I am the Lord. I am the Lord your God. So right here also is another rule that, like, he says we're not supposed to do not seek out do not turn to mediums, seek out spiritists. All right. So what he's saying is, do not go to tarot card people. Do not go to psychics. Do not go to any of that, pretty much, is what he's saying. Any form of paganism, we already clarified, it's bad. It's in here. It's a little bit later on. There's a book coming up that it has it in, where paganism is so bad they ended up killing Saul later on in the Bible, which comes up later on, which is, like, I believe in Judges. It gets it's a really dark book, but we already saw some dark stuff, very very little bit of it, but it gets really dark later on once we get to Judges. So let me see something here. Okay, so where are we at right now? When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Do not use dishonest standards when measuring length, weight, or quantity. Use the honest scale and the honest weight and honest ephah and an honest hin. I am your Lord God, who brought you out of Egypt. Keep all my decrees and all my laws and follow them. I am the Lord. All right. So this last one is called the punishment for sin. So we're on chapter 20 right now. So we're doing really good for 3 chapters right now. So punishment for sin. So actually, let me go back here. So he mentioned one of the rules that are mentioned here is do not dishonor standard when measuring length. Okay, so that's something that people make stuff up all the time. And there's stuff that I can think about right now that people make up and are like they'll measure something, and I'm not gonna say what it is because I can't speak that here in the stream or anything. Um, but they measure stuff. All right, why? We're not supposed to lie about that kind of stuff. We're not supposed to lie about anything actually. And I'm laughing because I'm not trying to be anything. I'm not trying to say anything bad here, but there's stuff that people will measure and they'll over exaggerate, you know. And then there's your height that gets over exaggerated. Like me, for example, I'm apparently 5'9". For the longest time, I thought I was 5'11". I don't know how I made it up. I must have shrunk over time or something. But now I'm 5'9", apparently. I used to be 5'11". I don't really understand how that works. But, it's weird that happened because, I remember being 5'11" a little while ago. I guess I must have shrunk over time. So, punishment for sin. Chapter 20. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, an Israelite or any foreigner residing in Israel who sacrifice any of his children to Malik, it is to be put to death. The members of the community are to stone him. I myself will set my face against him and will cut him from his people by sacrificing his children to Malik. So Malik must be a paganism god that people worshipped in this land because I don't know who that is. So he has defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. If the members of the community close their eyes when that man sacrifices one of his children to Malik, and if they fail to put him to death, I myself will set my face against him and his family and will cut them off from their people, together with all who follow him in prostituting themselves to Malik. So when the Lord says prostituting, it means like the way he's talking about it is like, you're doing something. So these people are they're giving their attention to a god underneath God who they believe to be real. That's what he's talking about. When you pay attention to somebody too much and you give attention to somebody too much, it's not only bad. Idolizing somebody is actually like bad, but this leads into like, giving a lot of like your like I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but like when you go out and you go help somebody, you're technically prostituting yourself off as a helper for somebody is what that kind of means to me is what I'm getting from that. So, I will set my face against anyone who turns to mediums and spirits to prostitute themselves by following them. So again, he's saying here, don't give your attention to any of these people because they're not good. And I will cut them off from their people. Consecrate yourself and be holy because I am the Lord your God. Keep my decrees and follow them. I am the Lord who makes you holy. Anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death because they have cursed their father or mother. Their blood will be on their their own head. All right. I'm sure if there was something going on in somebody's family and the Lord saw it, I'm sure he made a stipulation for that, of course, because myself, I'm dealing with bad family members too. So if a man uh, commits adultery with a man's wife, the man's wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulterers are to be put to death. Yeah, so back in the day, that was a very, very bad one too. So just remember, stuff like this long ago, we're getting away with it now. We still live, but back in the day, people actually died over this kind of stuff. So if a man has sexual relations with his father's wife, he has dishonored his father. But the man and the woman are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. If a man has sexual relations with his daughter-in-law, both of them are to be put to death. What they have done is perversion. Their blood will be on their own heads. If a man has sexual relations with a man, as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. Again, homosexuality was a bad thing, and it still is. And the Lord clarified that he didn't like it multiple times in the Bible, okay? Try to let that sink in and understand. I know a lot in today's age, it's people accept it in, but at the end of the day, you're not supposed to be accepting it in. You're supposed to kind of shame it. Make sure people aren't getting into your church and stuff like that until, like I said, there's a way I would run a church that would be entirely different than the way people run churches today. And it would upset a lot of people the way I run a church. But, at the end of the day, I know what I'm doing. And I would not change the rules of the church, even if people were talking poorly about the church. Because you know what? The church didn't do anything. The church itself didn't do anything. We're trying to make sure people come in there and don't try to change it. You don't want to gay it up or something like that, because I don't need that in a church. I don't need that in the house of God. I don't need that in a palace of God. So if a man marries both a woman and her mother, it is wicked. Both he and they must be burned in fire, so that no wickedness will be among you. So yeah, he's saying that, like, if a man marries, a mother and her daughter, they're supposed to be burned because of it. If a man has sexual relations with an animal, he is to be put to death, and you must kill the animal. Okay, so that's another one that in today's today's day and age is like very, very wrong. We see it. If a woman approaches an animal to have sexual relations with it, kill both the woman and the animal. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. If a man marries his sister and the daughter of either his father or his mother, and they have sexual relations, it is a disgrace. They are to be publicly removed from their people. He has dishonored his sister and will be held responsible. So we can go back in the Bible where there was a moment where, like, was it Abraham admitted to marrying his sister? So I don't know how that would have worked back then. It's weird to think about that, like, as a prophet, he did something like that, because if you go back earlier on, there was a moment where I believe they were in Mamre, and the prince of that whole city tried to take his wife, and he had to return him because the Lord told him to. So the guy questioned, and then he turned around and said, "Oh, that's my wife, my sister," or something like incredibly strange. But that's something that didn't, like, now it changed. So this is like years and years in the future. So it could be different but back then it was, stuff like that happened, I guess, and I don't know. If a man has sexual relations with a woman during her monthly period, he has exposed the source of her flow, and she has also uncovered it. Both of them are to be cut off from their people. Do not have sexual relations with the sister or either your mother or your father. for that would dishonor a close relative. Both of you would be held responsible. If a man has sexual relations with his aunt, he is a dishonorable. He has dishonored his uncle. They will be held responsible. They will die childless. If a man marries his brother's wife, it is an act of impurity. He has dishonored his brother. They will be childless. Keep all of my decrees and laws and follow them, so that the land where I am bringing you to live may not vomit you out. You must not live according to the custom of the nations. I'm going to drive you out. I'm going to drive out before you, because they did all these things. I had heard them, but I said to you, you will possess their land, and I will give it to you as an inheritance, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, who has set you apart from the nations. You must therefore make a decision, make make a distinction between clean and unclean animals, and between clean and unclean birds, or unclean and clean birds. Do not defile yourselves by any animal or bird or anything that moves along the ground. Those that I have set apart as unclean for you, you are to be holy to me, because I am the Lord. I am holy, and I have set you apart from the nations to be my own. I am a man or a woman who is a medium or a spiritist among you must be put to death. You are to stone them. Their blood will be on their own heads. So again, we're on chapter 21 right now. So the Lord didn't like paganism at all. He did not like it, and he mentioned that multiple times in the last few chapters. So that's something that really, thinking about it, maybe some of you guys should rethink what you're doing out there a little bit. I'm not saying anybody here that's watching me, but I'm saying there's people in the world that I think should rethink what they're doing a little bit, because, leading to that route, isn't going to get you into heaven. I'm actually not going to do anything like that. So I suggest, like, trying to step away from it and trying to do better for yourself and your life, because otherwise you're not going to go to heaven. It's just plain and simple. Okay. But I used to hang around people who were into all sorts of stuff like that. They were into the whole, like, gothic look, which the gothic look alone isn't bad. It's some of the people in it that decide, well, some of the people that are gothic, that's where the problem lies, because some people that are gothic aren't trying to be Christian, aren't like, you can be gothic and you can be Christian. Trust me, you can wear dark clothes all day long and be Christian. There's a few bands out there that have done it, and people get people that wear dark clothes confused sometimes, and it's completely understandable sometimes. But at the same time, we have to remember that not everybody that's in dark clothing is like practicing rituals of paganism and all that. We have to remember that. People get that twisted and depicted. But let me clarify something. Some of the stuff that I just read, what's weird about it is a person like me isn't out there doing it. It's a person more than likely that doesn't have a bunch of tattoos. That, person that looks as average as possible. That looks like he could be like he get a job at a store or something like that. A lot of the sinning comes from people who look like they don't sin, to be honest. I look like I sin. I look like I make a lot of mistakes. I look like I've done some horrible stuff in my life. I'm actually not sinning like people think. The real sinners are the people who are dressed nicely, who who can sweet talk people, stuff like that. There's a bunch of people that, no matter how you look at it, a bunch of average looking people are more than likely out there sinning more than a person who has a bunch of tattoos or something like that. Now, there are incidences where people that have tattoos do sin a lot. there are incidences, but it's not everybody. You have to remember, to sit down and actually kind of get to know the person before you make the judgment. And first of all, you shouldn't be judging people. That's God's place. God's the only one that should be judging people. You know, we do that far too much. We do that far too much. But the reason I am on guard with people all the time is because I pay attention to how they do things and how they treat other human beings. I saw it yesterday. That's why I was getting irritable yesterday. Because some people don't understand when some people don't under some groups on the internet don't understand how they're treating people, unfortunately. And there's a whole, we just have to be mindful of other people. If you see somebody in distress, go out and ask them if they're okay. Because to be honest, that one part in the Bible here early on, it was a small chapter. But remember in Joseph how he went after I think his daughter's he found out, that whole family found out his daughter got raped or whatever. So they said that and then the guy came back and he was like, "Can I marry her?" And they said, "Sure." And he's like, as soon as your whole city gets circumcised, you can do that. And then they went out and they just destroyed the whole entire city. That's bullying. Preventing bullying and sticking up for somebody is not. I don't consider that to be a sin. I consider that sticking up and protecting people because that's something that God's not going to get mad at you for. God sees you protecting somebody and he really, really needs your help because they're consistently getting bullied and all that. I'm sure God condones to that because, there's so many stories of superheroes and stuff like that in the world, and you want to feel like you're Batman or something like that, man. Get in there and save somebody that's being bullied. That's the most you could do, and it'll make people happy with you, man. It'll do a lot. And that's part of why when you look at it, people getting bullied, there's a lot of that. And you know what people do? The worst thing that people do is they do this. They record it. All right? That right there, that's a human life. What if that was you? And the thing is, these people, they don't think about it. They're like, well, you know what? They'll fall to the side of shame. They'll fall to the side that's actually very shameful instead of the people that are getting bullied. They'll fall into that side because they don't care enough to stick up for the person's life. They don't care enough to stick up for the person. They'll sit there and record it before they even interfere with it. And that's part of our problem in today's world is we're so busy, we're so busy taking sides of things that because there's a group of people who spoke to you about this person. You just showed up, okay? Let's just say there's a scenario where you just showed up and everybody's like, yeah, this person's a piece of trash or something like that. You might want to consider pulling yourself away from that group first and seeing what the whole ordeal is. And the thing that gets worse about it is any new person coming into something, you're gonna find that you're gonna find out how easily manipulative they are if they allow everybody to take the side. Now, there are incidences where I see people literally take my side on situations sometimes because they know I'm not the bad guy in a situation, And that happened to me last night where this guy that I used to I don't know if I don't know if it's him or not, but I'm still trying to figure that one out because I haven't really talked to him. But he has shown me that he has a side to him that's just worse than what I thought it was. And my thing is if you're that bad and you were sitting there kicking me out of a Discord all because you had some sort of random vendetta with me because you weren't allowing me to stick up, guess what? You're not in charge anymore, buddy. There's other people in charge right now. You'll get kicked because you're coming in and you're insulting people that you kicked out of your Discord, a Discord that wasn't even ran by you. First of all, it was for somebody who is fans of that person, And so I went off on him last night because I was getting tired of him. He woke me up at in middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning while I'm trying to sleep, and I had to say something to him, but he was he really upset me, and I'm like, you're disrespectful whether you realize it or not, and to come over here, seek me out. I don't know what you're doing over here or why you're seeking me out over here, but stay in your own territory, dude. You kicked me out for a reason. What are you trying to do coming over here? You know, that's what I don't get. Is again, I said it before. If I leave you alone, I forgave you. I'm not even thinking about you. If you can't come to terms with that, and you can't let stuff go, and you keep trying to reintroduce yourself back into somebody's life, yeah, you know, my heart will be hardened for a reason, and I probably won't be your best friend. But trust me, it happened for a reason. I left you alone. I didn't even try to go and make you look like a bad guy. Now, part of the problem with everybody is they seek vengeance on people. And we all just saw there that it's bad to seek vengeance on people. Leave people alone, man. Stop getting people wound up. Stop getting people wound up over their for you to see them. I don't understand how we can laugh at somebody suffering, man. How we can laugh and just be okay with laughing at somebody suffering. You see somebody being bullied, get out there and stick up for them. Stick up for them and make sure that make sure that they're not getting bothered by anybody anymore. Because the thing I realized about me is I'm starting to get a group of people where they're starting to like. It's hard, but some of them are starting to stick up for me because they see what I go through, and I'm not the only one who sees. I'm not the only one going through stuff. I see it all the time, and I see it I see it with Melanie Mack too. She's going through stuff. If you sit there and you watch her content and hear what she says, she's going through a lot of stuff. She obviously clarifies it. She clarifies that the internet is not very fond of her sometimes, and the friends she chooses, aren't sticking up for her. I got blocked and banned from places because I stuck up for her. That's why I got blocked and banned from places. Now people would say otherwise about me, but it's bad when you get blocked and banned from places just because people don't want you following that person. It's you know it's the whole group of people that follow her that have done that to me, and she knows that about me now. So that's why I kind of stick out to her. And I have a lot of respect for her because she goes through a lot of rough patches too. And I'm not gonna sit there and kick people out just to kick people out. But if you were giving me a hard time here on my chat or anywhere, I'm gonna literally block you because you don't deserve to be part of this kingdom that I'm building for God. You don't deserve to be a part of it. People come in here and correct me, say weird stuff, but I have to ban them if they do it because it's not, we're in a place where I'm talking about God and stuff like that. So we have to remember, be mindful of people around you. There's a term for it, that I want to say but I can't remember, but it's like a term where you understand emotions better than anybody. And it's really hard. I can't think of the name of it right now. Empathy. Okay, make sure you have empathy for people because that'll make you go a lot further in life than not having empathy. Some people out there, they act really really cold-hearted, and to have empathy in this day and age is a completely wild thing to say the least. It's probably one of the most rebellious things you could have in today's age, you know, and that's why like when I see somebody in distress, it bothers me because I still have I have empathy in me that tells me I have empathy, which you know, which is when you see somebody in distress, understand they're in distress. It's not about it's not about having those same feelings that they have because we're not connected like that. Nobody is connected like that. But when you have empathy and you see somebody's bothered by something, it becomes a bit like you can go out and see what it is going on with them. And I tried reaching out to people that actually follow her in the comment section. I told them, I was like, hey, because I'm known, but I'm not like known to that degree where I'm like a big where people see me all the time. But I told some of her followers on YouTube because one of them yesterday was like, look, if you follow her on Twitter or something like that, keep an eye on her because she seems like she's dealing with a lot right now. So and then I reached out to a couple other people who I don't know if they follow her, and they say they don't, but I don't actually know. But I'm trying to get people to look out for her a little bit more because she needs that. The internet's a rough place, and when you're being told to unalive yourself because of a disagreement by a minor human being, you know, I've had that happen to me before. It's not the, I got some really thick skin right now, but once I read this Bible and I get armored up, I'm perfectly fine, and anybody can pretty much say anything, and I'll laugh in their face. Um, but when it comes down to it, there's days where I can't even handle it. So we have to remember to be very, very mindful of people and be mindful of things people are going through. You know, it might not be just on the internet. It could be in their personal life. It's one of those things that it pay attention to people's facial expressions. Pay attention to their body language. Pay attention to all that. You can tell. You can tell through a lot through all of that. And when you break it down, like yesterday, I was browsing through her video because I want to show people what she was going through. She didn't look happy streaming with a bunch of. She didn't look happy streaming with everybody yesterday. In fact, she quit early because she didn't even enjoy the game, and she wasn't enjoying streaming. You can see in her face that she just wasn't feeling it. You know, and then on top of it, she was more excited to go read her Bible than stay there and play games with those guys because she's probably sick of those guys as well, and she's just not saying it. You know, and I look at it this way: if you're not feeling good about something, by all means, speak up. The fact that they got her on there yesterday, part of me thinks that they were they were enforcing her to go on there, and that's something that really, really, she said it yesterday when she was doing it. Pay attention to what things are said too, because if people are saying stuff and they're openly admitting they're being bullied, guess what? They're being bullied. There's no doubt about it. You need to pay attention to what they're going through. And, if she's, the group she streamed with yesterday, you know, they might not be aware that she just doesn't want to stream with them. But again, they probably enforced her to be in their group, which is insane to begin with because, she doesn't look like she's ever happy when she doesn't look like she's ever happy when she streams with them. That's something I've noticed, but I don't watch every single stream she does with them. But I do know there's something there that she's bothered with by them. And I don't know, there's something about it that I can kind of tell that there's something going on there. So, but I think she recently was supposed to come to Orlando, Florida, and, I didn't know about it, and I wanted to meet her, and I never, I didn't know about it, but, you know, I would like to know about it just to go and just have a discussion with her because that's what people think above and beyond with me. They think I'm out for blood and stuff like that. I'm really not. I'm a really nice guy. Like even if I am mad at those people, I would probably see them and say what's up. That's all I'd really do. If you can get a past saying what's up and then really just not be bothered by each other at the end of the day, you're diplomatic then. You're not bothering, you're not really, if you're not going at it with each other, then you're really just diplomatic. And most time when I get angry with dudes, it's because they really, really are putting me in a position where I have really no other choice of explaining myself but to actually really, really just show them and say, hey, you're not stopping what you're doing. You're not understanding. I have to go off on you, dude. That's just the way it is, And, there's some things that, you need to stand up for yourself for. And unfortunately, if I was in her position, if I was in Melanie Mac's position, I'd be a really hard person. I'd be a really hard person. I'd be like, look, I'm not dealing with this. And that's how I am. I do a lot of stuff on my own. And that's what she specified last night. Okay. But these guys that are probably enforcing her to stream or whatever are probably just doing some kind of bullying to her because, or something like that. It's, we have to look at the examples of what she's throwing us and saying to us and take them into consideration as to what's going on behind the scenes. And, just kind of learn from what she's doing on YouTube because at the end of her Bible discussion, she said that people wanted her unalived, which is not good, and that could be anybody saying that to her. At the end of the day, that's why, I used my surroundings and people connecting with her to try to reach out and be like, hey, pay attention to what's going on because there's something going on there. So I'm hoping people pick up on that and learn from that because, she does need people keeping an eye on her because, she'll go days without even uploading anymore, and it's like, okay, what is actually going on? Why is this going on? And when she comes back, you always hear how she's like being bullied, or like, there's just something extreme going on in her life. So when it comes down to it, yeah, I know the feelings she's going through because I'm right there with her. I got a pretty rough life myself, even though I don't openly admit to it. But that's how I understand where she's coming from. A lot more than what people do. A lot of people are senseless when it comes down to that. A lot of people seem like, no offense, but a lot of people don't seem like they're very educated in that area. I'm not a psychologist or anything, but there's certain things you can read off of people that, like, you can just tell they're in a bad mood or something like that. So it's best to learn from those kind of things and pick up when people are bothered from something, because you don't know. You could be the next Superman to somebody. You don't know that. So until you start paying attention to that, you won't get any praise for what you're doing. You're standing on the sidelines doing this with your phone instead of sticking up for people, man. That's not good. Put your phone down. Get back into reality and start kicking some butt. Metaphorically. Because it's what we need in today's age. We need people to start metaphorically kicking butt and stand up for people that are suffering right now. This whole clown world thing, we could kick it in its butt by preventing people from suffering. The people that are suffering, stick up for them. In fact, go to every length like I did to get yourself banned, because that proves a lot about you as a human being. And when you get yourself banned for like sticking up for somebody, then it shows they have a lot of respect for you. And I'm sure she knows. I'm sure, like, I don't know if she's watching right now, but there's a couple people watching. I notice she comes in here quite frequently, and she posts up to certain areas, which, I noticed. But, at the end of the day, I'm sure she knows what I've done for her. And she's probably not. She's probably just like excited I'm even sticking up for her and very happy with me, And one day I'm gonna meet her. It might not be soon, but it'll be in the future later on down the road. And I'm gonna make her very happy. I'm gonna make her very happy. That's my plan. But we have to remember, we see people in distress, start sticking up for them because they need you more than you realize. There's no way around it. Sticking up for people and kicking clown world in its butt. That's something we need to start doing. We need to start condemning clown world and what's been doing to us. And that's why, like, I miss the 90s in so many ways, because we used to be able to, like, say what we wanted to back then. Now you have to be lenient about saying things. You have to watch what you do on the internet and how you say it, because people are out there crying about their lives, but then will turn around and bully you because they feel like it's best. And the thing about those people is they always have multiple people attacking you. It's not one person. In fact, the first time around when I was like following Melanie Mack, and it was a little bit before I got blocked because there were some weirdos following me around the internet that like were connected with her and didn't understand when she's going through stuff to stick up for her. Well, something happened where I had to speak up about something, and I had a disagreement with her, and she said something back to me, and then I said something back, and guess who came after me? The whole mob of people came after me. You know what happened? She watched me get lit on fire and destroyed in front of her, and I was like, this is how you know that I'm not joking. I stand by my word. Regardless of how anybody feels, I will take so much abuse regardless of how I feel, and I won't change my opinion. And that's where you need to stand. Stand for your opinion. And also, if you see people standing up for themselves and they're getting bullied and they're in the same opinion as you, stand up for them. Stand up for them. All right. So now I'm going to get out. I'm going to say prayers and I'm going to get out of here because I'm running close on time. So, Lord Jesus Christ, I'm praying to you today to put light in people's life, protect the people that need it. Lord, give Melanie Mack her strength. She needs it today. Lord, send angels, or send angels with people to protect her today, Lord. She needs you to she needs angels and people in her life that are going to stand up and protect her. So Lord, anybody willing to actually pay it, like anybody, make sure people are actually paying attention to her instead of actually just assuming stuff. Because, Lord, we need that in today's world. We need people to start paying attention to people. Lord, if you could also, um, you know, if she doesn't like doing something, Lord, make it clear to people that she doesn't like doing something. Instead of like people second guessing her and how she feels, Lord, make them understand that she just doesn't want to deal with stuff, certain things for the day, and that people need to leave her alone for it, Lord. And I pray that people get around to understanding what I can't think of it now is I get people I pray that people come around to understanding people's emotions on their face, their body language. Lord, if people aren't understanding that, make sure they do. Make put them in a spot where they need to understand what body language is and reading body language, so they're following the rules of how making people safe, Lord. If anybody's in distress, make sure there's people standing up for them, Lord. Send good people that are right with you and understand your rules and regulations and will stick up for you, Lord. And also, Lord, I pray that like if she is dealing with something, pull her away from the people she's dealing with something with, Lord. Um, Yesterday I came to the conclusion that I think it's best she pulls herself away from the people doing OnlyFans and stuff like that and stop, communicating with them. For they are like being promoted through Christianity, and it's not her fault, Lord. So if you could pull those people away from her and make them leave her alone instead of assuming that it's just okay to talk to her, Lord, that would be highly appreciated by me, her, and everybody else that follows her. Lord, I'm also praying that Brittany Venti makes, recovery from whatever she's dealing with. Lord, she needs you too. Bring her back, bring her happiness and wildness back, so she can be on the platform again. And Lord, I also I'm praying for myself today. Send the Holy Spirit to me, Lord, and you know, make sure people understand emotions, and stuff like that, and make sure people are reading more into how you feel about stuff and all that, and try to get people to understand that, Lord. And my fights today, if you see me going through something, Lord, send angels because they're the only ones that can stick up for me and they're the only ones that can defend against me. So, Lord, if you see me going through something today, send angels. In Jesus' name, amen. So, there you go. There you have it. Just be mindful of what people are going through outside of you because you'll never know what people are going through. And just remember that, you know, uh, bullying, it can be taken care of. I think, I'm going to say this because that's one small chapter, but stick up for people that are being bullied. Stick up for them because we saw what happened in the Bible. God didn't get mad when people stood up for that. All right? Just remember that. All right. And with that said, I'm out of here. Take it easy and have a wonderful day. God bless you.